I guess Sundays we'll kick off with first. Ian Abrahams, Ian Bolton, Andy Naylor and Johnny Cantor. You want to promote those four, Tim? And then we'll go for it.
Unmute, that's it. Start your video, okay. We'll do that.
Go for it, Ian.
Start my video.
There you go.
Graham, hello. It's Ian Bolton here.
Hi, Ian.
Just give me all right. Look, what did it mean today to actually have fans back inside the AMEX?
Oh, it was fantastic. So obviously a small step is the first step for us, but so nice to see people in the ground and hear the supporters and hearing them engaging with the game. Yeah, really nice feeling.
What sort of difference does it make to you pitch side and for the players, do you think?
Well, you can imagine it's a completely different dynamic with no supporters. And it's just nice to get them involved and to hear the voice and the encouragement, and it brings another dimension to the game. We all know football without supporters is a lesser of a thing, but we also know why we've had to do it. So it's been a strange time, a time that we've all had to adapt to. But like I said, it's a nice first step to getting people back in the grounds and everything back to as close to normal as we can.
It is a step in the right direction. How optimistic are you that it will be taken further?
Yeah, I hope it will. I mean, it's I think there's a will there from everybody, but again, we're dealing with the virus and the pandemic and how to best come out of that and how to best to get people into the game. So we have to be sensible and we have to do it in the right way. But I think there's a will from everybody in terms of football, from the public. So fingers crossed. Credit to the club for how they've able to do it in a good way today, and hopefully it was a good afternoon for people.
As far as the players were concerned, there were a couple of new signings. A couple of your new signings started the match. Adam Lallana, of course, and Joel Belton. How do you feel they got on? How do you feel they fitted in?
No, they did well. We plan to just use them for 45 today because a slightly different stage to the rest of our players. Joel stopped early in Holland, and Adam hasn't played so much football recently, so a slightly different position to most of our players. But I thought they did well. They were pleased with how they've been introduced into the group and how they're interacting with the group. So they'll be good additions for us.
Graham, thank you.
Thanks, Ian. We'll go before we go to the other Ian. We have got Paul Barber on, so if anybody's got any questions about the operational side of things, we'll once we finish with Graham, we'll bring Paul on for everybody to ask questions. So, Ian, if you want to go next.
Hi, Graham. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can, mate. Yep.
Good. First of all, can I ask you about Christian Walton? That looked a very nasty injury today. Carried off, had to have oxygen. Any update at all on him?
There's not, no. Just other than what you say, it looked a bad one. I think as he landed, he's done something. Of course, it's fallen up a lot actually, and we'll just have to wait. And I think we'll have to, be at hospital and get it checked out properly. It's one of those unfortunate ones. He just didn't land very, very well on it.
Rumours David Button might be off to West Brom this week. Would that make you just hold back on that? I mean, we've got till October to transfer window anyway.
Well, I think we need to see firstly the extent of Chris's injury, and then make the best decision for the club from there.
Does it work out? Happy with it? I mean, it finished 1-1. You got a couple of penalties. I hope that's not your ration used up for the season.
No, I think it was a good workout. Both teams, you could see the quality of Chelsea, and we played our part in the game as well. I think it was a good game. Obviously, at this stage, you expect a few changes, and that happened in the second half. But overall, really pleased with the workout.
As you know, I was last here for the Man City game, which was behind closed doors, as every game has been. today was like chalk and cheese. I mean, it might have only been 2,500, but the acoustics of the stadium, it felt like we were back to normal.
Yeah, I thought the crowd that were here made a lot of noise for, considerably low number in relation to what will be here when it's back to full house. So that's a good sign. I thought the crowd were great. They got behind the team. They supported the game, and I think it was a feeling of
can you just
really
kill
nice
the volume on that telly?
In terms of the supporters that were here, obviously we're hoping everything goes absolutely fine. There are no problems in terms of anything after us, because the eyes of the footballing people everywhere in this country were on this game today, weren't they? I mean, this is not only a test for Brighton, it's a test for everybody in the AFL, non-league football. It's everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure we've done our best. We're into uncharted territories in terms of this is the first game, and we're trying our best to get things back to normality. I'm sure we'll learn a lot from the game as well, on and off the pitch, and move forward. And I think it looked like everybody was enjoying it. Everybody was keeping in a safe distance from where I was standing. And like I said, hopefully that's the start, the first step to a full recovery.
Thanks, Moose. Andy, if you want to go next.
Hi, Andy. I can't hear you, mate. Hello. Think a bit better. Hello.
Go for it, Andy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Go for it.
Okay, mate. Feels like you brought the weather back from Scotland.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We landed in Scotland. It was blue sky for a day, and then it was not so good for the rest. And then as we were leaving it, the blue sky popped out.
Where do you feel you're at, sort of squad-wise and preparations-wise? Obviously, a very quick turnaround, and it's not that far away, is it, till you play Chelsea in the Premier League?
No, I mean we've had 3 weeks break. I think it was important for the players to get some time with their families and to switch off after a really long testing season. But it's still not a long time in terms of what you lose. So it's just a case of reintroducing everybody to football and getting going again. At the same time, we've got a couple of new guys that are at different stages, so we have to take that into consideration. Generally, happy with how the players have been, their attitude, how they've come back. The group's developing all the time. We've had some younger players in, which I think gives a bit of freshness as well to the whole group. So yeah, pleased, but still, we'll use every minute, every time that we have together, we'll use it as well as we can, because we can still improve.
What have you made of the first sort of opportunity you've had to work with Ben White? Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him with the stuff that's gone on with Leeds, but what have you made of that so far in his first half today as well?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. I know, as I said before, I've known about him and I know about his qualities, but I think how he's handled this situation, it's just a lot of speculation. There's always speculation. There seems to be with somebody at this time of the year, because that's the transfer window for you. But he's just got on with his work. I think he enjoys being with the players, enjoys his football, and he just wants to get on and play football as well as he can. And nice for him to play out there for us for 60 minutes. And again, another step for him.
Thanks, Graham.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Andy. Johnny, if you want to go next, we then got Darren and Paul before we'll then move to Paul Barber, unless anybody's got any more questions for Graham.
Hi, Graham. You talk about Ben there playing in a 3 at the back. Are we likely to see that a little bit more this season, perhaps?
Well, I think it's an option for us. We've done it a bit last year as well, with Ben, with Lewis, with Adam, with Dan, with Shane. So there's possibilities there. So it's something that we can look at.
How nice was it to incorporate the likes of Jason Malumbi and Max Sanders today into a first team fixture at the AMEX?
Yeah, it was really, really good. They've impressed in pre-season. obviously Jason's had a loan in the Championship, Max had a loan in League One, but they're two slightly different players, but still they've got some attributes that are interesting. We need to find the right, pathway for them in terms of to continue their career and progress. And at the same time, I think it's nice to have young players around that can add a bit of energy and a bit of freshness and enthusiasm to the group, and they've conducted themselves really well.
I know Davy Prupper wasn't named in the Dutch squad this week. He was an absentee today, as was Glenn Murray. Is that injuries? What's the issue with those two?
Yeah, Davy just had a feeling in his Achilles a little bit, so we just didn't want to take the risk. And Glenn, the same thing really, no injury, but just he had a big week this week, so we just decided to leave him for this game and pick up again next week.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. Darren.
Hi, Graham.
Hi, Darren.
Hiya. You mentioned speculation again earlier about players. Shane Duffy's another one who's had plenty of it over the summer. He played today. Can you give us an update on his situation and what you'd like to see happen?
No, again, you can't control the things in the media. A couple of weeks ago it was Lewis Dunk, and a couple of weeks ago it's Ben White, and it just seems that it's just always somebody. You understand the speculation with Shane because he's an important player. He's a big character, and he wants to play football. So of course you put two and two together, and it's an obvious one. But he's been fantastic for me. He's been great with the group. I understand that he wants to play. We need to take those decisions at the right time for him and for the team. But at the moment, he's with us. He does his best every day, and he's part of our group.
With the Premier League first fixture coming up shortly, are you happy where you are at the moment? And are you doing anything perhaps different this season as to last season?
Well, we're happy so far in terms of the start we've made. A couple of weeks since we've been back, it's been good, but we know that we need to improve as well. There's a lot of work to be done between now and the first Premier League match. And yeah, I would say there is differences in terms of how we are because we just know the team and the group better. This time last year, if you talk about this time last year in pre-season, it's you're just walking in, you're just finding out about everybody. So we've got a bit more of an understanding of the players and the group and everybody. So I suppose we're a bit more advanced in that regard.
Cheers, Graham. Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, Paul Rowan.
Hello, Graham. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, I can.
Graham, listen. Sorry, Graham. Were you asked about Shane Duffy already?
I was, yes.
Yes, we have had that one. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. Thank you, Graham.
No problem.
Graham, you are done, so I will let you log off. And then if we can get hands up now for Paul, just while we're waiting for that to come up. Go on, sorry, Graham, you can say something?
Oh, it's okay. I don't mind being a support act for Paul, no problem.
Attendance today, everybody, 2,500 was the attendance.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Graham. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Graham.
Johnny, if you want to go for Paul, you just need to unmute. And any other hands up for Paul?
Hi there, Paul. Can you hear me?
Hello, Johnny.
Just first, your assessment of how today went from your perspective in terms of the fans coming in and out of the stadium.
Very pleased. First of all, I mean, a lot of credit due to the fans. They listened to the request that we'd made of them. They were very, very respectful of our staff. They were looking after each other. Really, really very pleased with the way the event has gone. And we'll have our full debrief in a little while. But certainly the initial feedback from our operations team is that things went as well as they possibly could have done. And, I'm delighted to hear that.
No obvious things that maybe didn't quite go to plan, or perhaps lessons that you've learned already?
Yeah, I mean, I think, our staff were very vigilant in asking people for their photographic IDs to match the name on their ticket. And I think one of the learnings from today is that, of course, a lot of small children just don't have photo ID. So we've had two very senior people here today from the DCMS, and we've been able to provide that feedback to them straight away. And of course, it's all part of the track and trace strategy. Without the app, it's really important that we're able to identify everyone in the stadium. But if a small child is with their parent, of course, we can track the child and trace the child through their parents. So, we don't need to put parents through the trauma of having to bring photo ID, but that's a small bit of learning, but that's what the whole point of today's pilot event was about. It was about to test the guidelines, make sure that we got everyone complying with them as far as we possibly could, and then to feedback some of the things that didn't work so well. So if that's the worst that's happened today, then I'm absolutely delighted.
It certainly seemed to go particularly well. What about in terms of the next step? How can you take this forward to maybe ramp things up, to use a government phrase, and take this to the next step?
Well, the most important thing about today was getting this event off safely. And the second most important thing was then providing feedback for the rest of football to be able to take forward, because this event just wasn't about Brighton. It was about the football industry as a whole. It was about the sports industry as a whole. It was about live events as a whole, just to show government that we can stage things safely, but we also need to now move through the gears, providing the other pilot events are similarly successful, so that we can bring more fans back to the stadium as quickly as possible, because the whole football economy and the wider economy really does depend on us having our business back running as quickly as we can. But obviously it's important that it stays safe, and that's why these events being progressive are very, very important.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, and well done today.
Thank you, Johnny. Thanks.
Thanks, JC. Ian, Mr. Bolton, go for it.
Paul, hi there. I just wonder, what was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome to get today's event on?
I think it was getting the confidence of the government that we were ready to do this, not just from a point of view of operations in a football stadium, but I think the confidence of the public to want to come back to a live event, being surrounded by a couple of other 1,000 people. After all that we've been through, all of us, over the past 4 or 5 months, I think it was just crossing that boundary to government basically having the confidence to give us permission. The second thing for us was that we didn't get that permission, obviously, until earlier this week, quite late in the day. So though from an operational planning point of view, we then had a very small period of time in which to pull the event together. But we've done a lot of work before then. We've had fantastic support from the DCMS, from the Secretary of State, from the Premier League, and from all of our staff who've really worked so hard over the last few weeks, but particularly the last few days, to make this event happen.
And in terms of the next step, what would that be? Would that be an event with a bigger crowd? Is it something that Brighton would like to be involved in?
We're very happy to continue to stage pilot events with a progressively larger crowd, but there are other clubs in the country that would also like to be involved, and it's absolutely right and proper that they are. Obviously, Wembley has a big event with 10,000 people, big by the standards we're currently working with, in a few weeks' time for the FA Trophy and FA Vase finals. That is not a significant size crowd in comparison to the capacity of Wembley, but in terms of the movement of people through public transport and through other transport means to and from Wembley, that's another quite big step up from where we currently are. So the government have been very careful to select pilot events at different levels, different types of stadium, different types of organisations. Lewis Ladies have got a game tomorrow for 150 or so people. That's a different level event, but still just as important, because at the lower levels of football, it's so vital to get crowds back into the stadiums, because they can't rely on the TV income that we very fortunately benefit from. So it's really important that these pilot events go through different levels of football with different sized crowds, so that everybody in the football pyramid has a chance to get their businesses back together again.
Thank you, Paul. Well done today.
Cheers, Ian. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Ian. Andy Naylor.
Hi, Paul.
Hello, Andy.
Just one from me, following on really from what Ian asked you there in terms of your biggest challenge for today. Going forward, what do you think the biggest challenge is? Obviously, you've started the process of getting things to where the whole of football would like them to be. Is it the more people creates more policing issues, or what do you think the biggest challenge is?
Yeah, I think scaling up is going to be the biggest challenge, because the guidelines as they stand work very well, as you saw today, for 2,500 people. And I dare say at Wembley, they'll probably work just as well for 10,000 people. But as we try and put greater capacities into the stadium, that obviously creates more complexity for transport. It makes more complexity for the concourse areas, which work very well today. We had a small pinch point at half time, as you'd expect. But again, the fans were fantastic. They listened to the stewards, they socially distanced, they did everything we asked them to do without exception, which was absolutely fantastic. But obviously that's with 2,500 people. When we move to much bigger crowds, when all four sides of the stadium are open, then of course everything that we've done today has got to be multiplied. And the more people you put into the mix and the more staff you have, the more complex the process becomes. And of course, you then might come across other challenges. But as we've said to the government all along, we're designed as a football club and as a stadium operation, just as many other clubs are up and down the country, to operate at full capacity. That's when we're at our best. That's what we're geared up towards working to. But obviously, in these socially distanced times where the virus is still an underlying threat, we've simply got to adapt and manage very carefully. All the mitigation that we put into place today worked really well. People wore their masks queuing, they wore their masks on the concourse, they relaxed a little bit when they got outside, but they maintained their distance. They followed the signage. They did really religiously follow the signage. And I thought it was quite funny, even at the end there, when Frank and Graham were giving their pitchside interviews, people were standing listening to them, but stayed socially distant, which was, again, just a measure and an example of just how compliant people have been today. So I think our fans have been incredibly responsible. They realised that they had a lot of people watching them today, not just from a football point of view, but from an operational point of view. And I think they set a great example for the rest of football, and have given the rest of football a chance to get their own businesses back together again. So I'm very grateful to our fans for the way they conducted themselves today. They were magnificent.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Matt Barlow next, and then we'll go to Brian Owen for the final questions.
Hello, Paul. Just wondered, have you had any feedback today from the fans themselves? They've been locked out for a long time. They must have felt great to come back in. Do you have any? Has anyone said anything to you from that angle?
Yeah, before the game, quite a few fans came up and just said, "Look, it's just fantastic to be back. Thank you to the club for putting the event on." I've had a few emails since the game finished just to say what a great day people had. Enjoyed just being back in the stadium. I mean, clearly what we tried to do, Matt, today was get a balance between priority, keep people safe and comply with the guidelines that the government have asked us to work to, but also try and have a light touch so that people enjoyed the football and enjoyed the occasion, because it's been such a long time since fans have been in this stadium. The end of February was the last time we had fans here at the AMEX, so it's a long time for people to be away. And I think there was just a sense of relief, maybe, that there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel now, where we can start to get our lives back to a degree of normal. And obviously there's a long way to go. This was a small first step, but people were very positive, very appreciative, and actually pretty excited for a pre-season friendly. There were a lot of smiling faces, and people were generally very, very happy to be here.
Thank you, Paul.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you.
Cheers, Matt. And finishing up, Brian, go for it.
Hi, Paul. I was actually going to ask exactly the same question that's just been asked. I'll just use my slots to say congratulations and good luck for the next step.
Thanks very much, Brian. Thank you.
Cheers, Paul.
Cheers, Brian. Thanks, Paul. And that's us done. Thanks, everybody, as well.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah, and thanks for everybody complying with. I know there were some stringent protocols and regulations for you guys. Really appreciate you doing all the questionnaires, et cetera. So we'll probably see you all when the season starts for real, or certainly at some point. So thanks for your help today. Obviously, you can just comply with the guidelines on your way out and all of that. And see you all soon, no doubt. Thanks a lot. Cheers.